Good morning to you, and thank you for joining me on Smooth Breakfast, Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It is time for Freshly Pressed 981. I'm joined by Ugo Dre of Nairametrics. Good morning, Ugo Dre.
Hey, my brother, good morning.
Good morning. Good
You
to see
doing?
you.
Same
Very
here,
well.
bro.
Very well. Lakunle is here too. Hello, Mr. Lakunle. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Valentine. Good morning, Ugo. Dre. Good
Morning,
morning,
my bro.
Lagos.
Good to have you in. Thank you so much. Please share your comments and conversations. Conversation points are really off of the headlines with us on WhatsApp 0809 444 All right, 0809 444 is the number to send those messages. You can watch live on YouTube. Type in the search box Smooth FM Lagos to catch us live and subscribe. Remember to share with your friends and family and ask them to listen and watch as well. I'll start very quickly with you, Ugo Dre. Military airstrike hits Yobe's civilians in error. The Nigerian Air Force said last night that it immediately launched a probe into the incident. But take us through the story, highlighting the key points, for how this has affected lives and the reactions from government authorities.
Yeah, thanks, Valentine. Pretty much bad story this morning. Several newspapers have different versions of how this kind of happened. But similarity basically is that it's a military aircraft coming from I think the east and then firing sporadically around the west, and it affected a lot of farmers, traders who were just going about their daily business, and then got caught up in this. It looks as if the military were targeting Boko Haram, or is it ISWAT or whatever
This,
terrorist. Yeah,
this up, yeah.
yeah, that's what they were targeting. At least that's what they indicated. And then mistakenly you know, fired at civilians. In one particular report, I think they had said that they basically may have missed their coordinates or something, and this will now be a prayer point.
May your coordinates be
Coordinates
right.
never be,
Or maybe
you
may you
know,
not fall into the wrong
wrong
coordinates.
coordinate, or whatever. So, and but sadly, I mean, I think there was one. This particular report does not specify how many people may have been killed, but there are several ones from 10 to 30. There that may have been killed because of this attack, and the governor has gone to commiserate with the people in these communities. But it's just the sad part of this war that we've had for I think the US were celebrating 20-year war in Afghanistan putting out, but I think we've done over 10 already, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, on this war, and nobody knows when it's going to end, and whether it's going to end with us winning. But it's just caused so much casualties. It's incredible, so much. I don't know if there's any records out there where we keep tabs of the numbers, but the casualties are just too much, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like there are consequences for any of these things. And people are basically turned into statistics. Even people in the military ranks themselves who have also lost their lives, to this crazy war. So, really sad stuff. Really sad.
Chris here says it's a clear sign of incompetence. Chris, thank you for your message. Please keep them coming. 0809 444 Luckily, the Guardian has his reports on the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. He said he has written to 36 state governors asking them to grant access to federal government stamp duty recovery agents in their respective domains. And they also urged the Supreme Court. Now, some days ago, actually, there were media reports that the federal government, first of all, failed to remit 176 billion naira proceeds of stamp duty. This was an alleged claim that the state governors failed to remit, and the federal government completed as well. But they are urging the court in a suit, right, to order the federal government to refund the money collected as stamp duties on individual persons' transactions. Why I give these references because I'm just thinking and wondering, is this it seems like a preemptive measure in the light of the VAT talks between FRS and the state revenue collectors. But what are your thoughts on this story?
So just as Fela said, arguments. You be thief and no be thief. You be rogue and no be rogue. But that is not actually about thieving and roguing in this case. It's the arguments that goes back and forth between two people, right? The governors have gone to court to say, look, in the last 6 years, you have not remitted or you have not shown us evidences of this money you have collected. So the federal government through the attorney general by the power the financial acts the stamp duty act granted him that he should be the one supervising the recoveries of this money has now written to say okay the stamp duties that are due to be collected that you have been the ones that superintended over it that is in your respective domains let us have access to it so that when like you said preemptive whatever comes out of the case in court, if they say, okay, for example, you have not remitted 176 billion, and then they come and look from what we found out in your respective states, each state is doing X amount. Can we net it off from the 176 billion? This is all about money sharing,
Follow the
the
money.
rent, the seeking mentality that majority of us in Nigeria have. We are so comfortable with sitting back and wait for somebody to do all the work, collect the money, then we all sit down around it and share it. And now that those monies are not enough to cover up our appetites, we're now fighting over it. I think that what we should be doing now is to discussing how these monies should be shared, not about who should collect them. I mean, it's an offshoot of everything about money. For the past 8 weeks or thereabout, we've been talking about VAT who should collect. It's the same thing as this is going to end up at. You know, just last year, the Financial Act was what do they use for that thing was updated some kind of so it now continues to state what stamp duties are what is liable to be stamped and how are stamps administered and all that. Before then there had been fight between NIPOST and FIRS who should collect. Now it is between state government and federal government who is collecting, who is sharing how much. So I think that we should focus more on what are the things that we need to do to make these monies not so attractive for us to be making news. Like it's just something that people should just ordinarily collect, share if it has to be shared. If we have to decentralize, agree on some things to move forward. We are spending too much time on this brick brat of
I don't
Because
think
it's important.
it's important because I don't think we're wasting too much or spending too much time on it. These are key issues, and you just confirmed my suspicion that it's a preemptive measure because if you think of capital gains tax, value added tax, stamp duty, and all those things, they are lumped into the same umbrella, like under the same umbrella.
yeah. That's why. Okay.
I think for me though, pulling from the VAT, discussion and all that back and forth, I think this is all the process of national renaissance. So, state governments and politicians are beginning to realize that the good old days of waiting for oil revenue to come in and then everybody shares their fact, it's almost dwindling. It's nearly or not so much of a major revenue earner for the Federation account with taxes. Taxes are growing, and traditionally, where state governments and even federal governments actually earn the revenue is from taxes. That's really what it should be. So now people like governors or politicians are realizing that what this is really all about taxes.
Yes.
So now people are sitting back and saying, okay, what really belongs to us? Right? We just sit down and allow the federal government just give us handouts and share. Let's even look at these laws and see if there are loopholes. Because at the end of the day, able to compete, that will be able to pay salaries, that will be able to develop faster, they'll be able to, and the governors in those states as well, they are the ones that will be able to be re-elected. So
Right.
at the end of the day, this is really following the money, and that's what they're doing. So you'd expect a lot more of this over the next few years till you start to now consolidate. And after this phase, you know what's going to happen next? Then there's going to be accountability, because then people who pay the taxes will now start to ask for accountability. That's what's going to happen next.
Because if you don't see it working, you naturally don't feel inclined.
Yep.
So that's one of the issues really that I should attend to.
Yep.
But lump that into your next thought regarding this story. I want to take very quickly to the Vice President's statement saying that we'll tax profits made by global giants, or rather global giants in Nigeria. Udre, please like you said, following the money, right?
Mhm.
The money is coming towards, well, has come towards tech. Most recently, the social media giants, will see their presence in Nigeria. But relating to this, who do you think would fall under this tax bracket? And when do you see this, taxation coming into play?
So these are mostly tech companies, and it's in terms of Nigerian laws. Um, Nigeria taxes revenue. So if you're a foreign company and you're doing business in Nigeria, even if you're not registered here, Nigeria also taxes you, right? If you're a foreign company registered here as well, then you also are liable to tax. Now, so in the past, it's been easier for brick and mortar companies that you actually need to set up shop, or you're actually doing some kind of physical goods or providing services that one can actually sort of evaluate easily. But with technology, it's tough. So, Instagram's making a lot of money from Nigeria, but do you know how much they're making? It's difficult to know,
Yes.
right? Because the fact that they pay, advertisers or a lot of influencers here means they're making a lot of money out of it. YouTube also, Google, Facebook. So a lot of these tech companies do make a lot of money, but according to the government, or from the sound bites again from the government, it appears that they are not paying taxes, or probably not paying enough taxes. Now, and that's why they're going after them. Foreign companies make up, I think about a third or so of the company income taxes that we earn. I think in 2019 we were 600 billion or thereabout, out of 1.6 trillion that we got from company income taxes. It did drop last year because of COVID-19, but it's a significant amount of revenue to the federal government. So if you can tax a lot more, foreign companies that earn money out of Nigeria, that's good. But the challenge has always been, what exactly are you taxing?
Yeah.
Because for the FIRS, apart from the fact that they're also short-handed in terms of the tools that you need to actually know how to collect these taxes. Typically, they wait for these companies to tell you how much revenue they made. I think it's called deemed taxes or deemed profits or whatever. So they have to wait for them to tell them, okay, this is a profit, and then you have to figure out what their expenses are. You're not really sure what, because they're not really based here, right? They're not based here per se. So that is why you see government insisting that, like Twitter or Google or these guys, set up shop in Nigeria, because when you have shop in Nigeria or an office here, then you can start to now pull out your tools of taxation and start to figure out what exactly comes in. But the point is that, so long as oil the oil revenue continues to dwindle, you're going to see government focus a lot more on taxation, because that's really where the money is. And Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world, very low, especially when you consider how large this economy is. So it's just no brainer, really. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's accountability.
It is
That's what's
accountability.
gonna come next.
Thank you so much for that analysis. And Vice President Jemie Shubajo said this while interacting with the delegation of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. It was led by its president, Mr. Adesina Adedayo, visited the presidential villa in Abuja. Let's take some messages. Luzio says about the taxation issue. When we continue to create the environments that makes the people more productive, then taxes will be easier and justifiable to collect. Twitter Bambao. Now we see part of the consequences. Dele Owolo says, good morning to your guests. The lack of productivity in the agricultural, industrial, and mining and tourism sectors, and unwillingness to think outside the box is the core of the FRS VAT sharing agenda being pushed by the federal government and the non-viable states. Dele Owolo, thank you for your message. Cisco Delgado had sent us in earlier. He says, good morning, guys. I'm very angry this morning on the accident of the military aircraft in Yobe State. There's no room for saying it was a mistake. Does that mean that the pilot was sleeping or drunk?
Coordinates.
He said it was definitely down to coordinates, because flying out high up there, they depend on coordinates, know where and when to strike. He said if it was a plane crash, you can say to okay, may the souls of affected victims rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen. Let's get to this story. Lakunle, the federal government said that they've launched a youth empowerment program, or employment action plan. Now, we've heard similar announcements before. What strikes you as an optimistic perspective in this?
Many years ago, I came across a statement that said that the most important resource that any country may have is the human resource that it has. And this human resource is typically um, vested in the people within the age range of 18 to 45. That is the peak of the productivity of man. Yeah. So one would ordinarily say congratulations to Minister of Youth and Sports Development for this. But like you said, we've had many youth empowerment programs in the last 10 years. What are the results? Right? So why can't we just keep the name, run with the program, identify the challenges in it, seek to tune it, seek to refine it, improve on it, seek to make accountability of it? Why do we recreate things? Why would we create new things every time? I mean, so what is the exact agenda of this empowerment initiative? He is Minister of Youth and Sports Development. Is it about sports? Is it about youth? We would need to see the full details of what this is all about. And then we'll be able to say, okay, this is exactly where it is going to impact. I wouldn't want another situation whereby we'll have a youth empowerment program where at the end of the day, people will be given tricycles or motorcycles or be given some paltry sum of money and we would celebrate it. It is fine. Those monies may be important at some levels,
but we don't know for sure.
But we don't know for sure what it is. But my point exactly is that why do we recreate things over and over again with different names? Why don't you just stick to a name, continue to improve in that name, and until we have a perfect program?
But like you said, if there's a plan, and at least the least we need is the details, right? We need
Absolutely.
to see the details. Let's know, how this is going to be carried out, how far, timeline and such. Well, thank you for that, Lakunle. Let's move on quickly to this next story. IPOB, Yoruba Nation agitators are not different from terrorists. Femi Gbajabiamila mentioned this. That's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He said the refusal of the separatist movement in the southern parts of the country to accommodate dissenting opinions make them the same as Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists. That's a bold statement to make, especially after resuming, from their recess. But in the light of recent situations, do you think that was a careless statement, or he meant something that most of us really need to appreciate?
Very interesting. He was, excuse me, swinging really hard. Coming back from recess. I think maybe he was really pumped up, and wanted to make a really bold, statement. But I mean, you have to look at what he said from multiple angles, and it appears that, his statement seems to be very much directed at perhaps IPOB, who have been more violent over the last few years in the way that they conduct their own activities. And to his point, they probably are not fighting against a Nigerian state like Boko Haram in terms of gun to gun, but their activities are tantamount to what you call terrorism. And I mean, a lot of people can argue against that. Agitation is not every agitation that's terrorism. People typically agitate, for several reasons, and if you particularly, from the West, what's the name of that guy again? Sunday Igboho.
Yeah.
So there's I think they once started with the Fulani headsmen and all that, and trying to reclaim their state. So for a speaker to come out, like that, I think that perhaps maybe he probably would have chosen his words a lot better. I understand that he's really against separatist movement trying to mix up their activities with some kind of violence, and basically saying that is also terrorism. But then move to the federal government side, and I don't think the federal government is yet to has actually declared Boko Haram terrorist organization yet, or something. So people are still speaking in that direction. So I think that maybe perhaps we already know that they've declared some of these related separatist movements as terrorist organizations. So maybe he should perhaps ask the federal government to do same, or at least the National Assemblies should also do same. But the point really is that there are better ways of agitation. Uh, and you can't continue to agitate by locking down cities and then
Yes.
stay at home like public. I don't think something that any government would encourage, and people should encourage really. And because when you start to do that, then you're really going against the state, and the state, excuse me, whether we like it or not, elected people, that people that Nigerians have elected. So, and that power, the power that they have, is power that they derive from Nigeria. So you just can't, be law and order on yourself, onto yourself, because you're agitating. So you're agitating, and then you're infringing on your rights. And if you look at the broader context, state terrorism on its own. So
Exactly.
terrorism on its own, rather. So yeah, that's my point. But I think maybe he could have chosen his words better. He really came out, from coming from research
swinging
afterwards.
hard,
Yeah. And there's something else he also mentioned. He said that why are you judging, legislators by how many bills they pass? That it's rather narrow and myopic way of judging, their work. That is a lot more work that they do. Hello,
Tell us.
you're a lawmaker.
What
Make
are,
laws.
what are the laws?
There are so many
There are
old
so
laws
many
out
laws
there
that
that
you
you
need to
need.
review
Yeah,
them.
make laws. Yes, there's a lot of things that they do as well. Yeah, they go community, whatever, make community development and all that,
Yeah.
and public hearings, and a whole lot of stuff that they do. Agreed. But you know what? Lawmaking is the number one reason why you're there. And like we've seen, there are so many archaic laws out there that the state can use to continue to impinge on the rights of people. So go into those laws and start to redo them. We're in 2021. We're not in 1970 something. And a lot of these laws are old laws. Right. So, and I think that's really what lawmaking is about. So let them focus on making laws. Like that's what Nigerians want to use to judge you.
Yes.
Lawmaking.
Because you're working in the interest of the people.
Exactly.
So you're supposed to, while you're there to do your work of lawmaking, review all the old laws to see how they can best suit the
Exactly, and then come up with newer ones. You like I said, see the argument between states and federal government. Those are all loopholes and laws.
Yes.
And they've existed for years, and nobody has just bothered to go look at them. So you have lawmakers that were really looking at these things and basically amending some of these laws, and I don't think we'll be here. And like I said, so long as we continue to have revenue crisis or revenue issues, law would become paramount in this country. The same way fighting about elections for years, right? Election, the lawyers were always fighting about election. It's going to be about taxes very soon. It's going to be about, because that at the end of the day is what really matters for governance, at least this era of final service. So, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Please, let's focus. Messages here. Yemi from Marina said, "Good morning, guys. Please allow me to update you. The military spokesperson came up this morning and denied that the Air Force caused civilian casualties. Investigations are ongoing. Like the analyst said, when does it end?" Akintoye says the FRS has issued guidance on the requirements for non-resident companies operating in Nigeria to file their returns. The basis of taxes are now very clear. This is just to clarify the statement made on the show. Thank you, Akintoye. Adat says foreign companies domiciled in Nigeria already pay huge taxes. So why not tax the influencers? It is easy to see those who have 1 million followers or more and they don't pay tax on their earnings anyway.
How do you know?
It says on the second topic, it said, please let the honorable minister leave the youth alone. We do not need any more youth disempowerment programs. Thanks, Ada. Thank you very much. Julius Oloyede says, Femi Gbajabiamila recanted. That was a poor and careless statement in any case. Thank you, Julius.
Oh, okay.
Kenny Hituge, thank you. I like the updates that are coming in. Kenny Hituge says, Boko Haram said Western education is haram. Now, IPOB is stopping students from going to school. I know you want to argue that the scenarios are different, but believe me, the result is the same. And Ike Peter says, great analysis, guys. Surprising. Boko Haram bandits, unknown gunmen, and are yet to be declared terrorists, but IPOB is a terrorist organization. Everyone will pay for their crimes against the country. Adamu says Speaker Femi's statement is not reckless, but considering the killings in the southwest meted out on the Hausa people without any reason. Without any reason? Sounds cute though. 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. Let's move to the next story. Labour alleges rights violation as Edo enforces COVID-19 vaccination. So the government of Edo State had said that at a certain point, that was 2 weeks ago, they gave a deadline effective by Wednesday, which was yesterday. Any civil servant that's not fully vaccinated will be stopped or no, would not be granted entry into any government establishments. Now, I would say Oga head of COVID-19 enforcement to Mr. Yusuf Haruna manned the main gate of the secretariat. I like just that, action, practice steps. I started checking cards. Do you have your vaccine? Are you fully vaccinated? No. Then the staff will be saying, "God, my own, I left it in the office." They will now send the colleague to bring it to the gate. So there were strict measures. Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress, and trade union congresses in Nigeria State have found that the reason is that the state government did not consult them. What were they this time, this whole period after the announcement? What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, interesting.
Okay, quickly, let me start by saying that I find this story particularly of interest because just August 21st, one of my friends already died of COVID in Benin.
So sorry.
Okay, he had attended an event and it was more painful for me particularly that I had spoken with him 2 days after that event. We had spoken severally about things, and a week after I had the news that he died. So having said that, so you can imagine the weight of coping with the COVID-related deaths like that in Edo State. We know what our medical infrastructure is like. So, like Yoruba people say, they'll say that difficult matters require difficult actions. So, if the governor, in his wisdom, he hasn't said they are sacked. He has said, if you don't want to take the vaccine, stay at home. Let those who have taken it come. While we are talking about rights, just forget that where your right ends is where somebody else's right starts. You have a right not to take the vaccine. The person who has taken the vaccine also has a right not to be exposed to the virus so that it doesn't get infected. The government also has a right on the citizens that they govern to say that this is how I want you to do these things. The case of that the federal high court in Port Harcourt has said it is wrong to do, the matter for another conversation. In all of this matter does not you don't want to take the vaccine. Okay, you can come to work on one day of the week. The ones who have taken it will not come on that day. So you have the place to yourself, and so on and so forth. So we would appeal to everybody involved to take a step back and look at how ways at approaching these issues. I do not think that the governor has done anything wrong. Take other vaccines anyway. When our children are born, we take them to the hospital to give them various types of vaccines. Why this particular one? What is the issue exactly that we have with this one? That is what I think that we need to actually address.
Sensitization, consultations, part of the reasons that they gave. Now, let's move on quickly to this next one. Oh, by the way, somebody sent a message asking, what's your name, please? Shegun says, who is Commissioner of Health, for Health in Edo State? Still cabinet there. Commissioner of Health, Patrick Okundia. And IK Peter says, great analysis, guys. Just surprising. Oh, thank you for taking this earlier. And Uche says, good morning. How many vaccines have been provided in Edo? What is this? Hugo, final story here. Amid soaring prices, inflation drops to 17.01%. This is a report from New Telegraph. Help us appreciate the gravity of this one.
Yeah, appreciating the gravity of it is good. I mean, so it's one thing for the data to say it's 17.01%.
Just seems high.
Guys, that is no problem. August last year, and compared to prices in August this year, is up by 17.01%. And that's what they're saying. But all I know is that there's one place around Freedom Way where I usually buy plantain because I like plantain. And that plantain used to be wonky.
Give me a plug.
That plantain that is like 2.5.
I'm not interested.
Yes. No, it's not a plug. So the point is that, and why I brought this up is a lot of people get confused with inflation prices, how much they actually spend. So the way inflation is determined is that it's just a basket, and everything in that basket has its own weighting. So if the things that you spend money a lot on and the prices are going up and basically doubling, but the weighting is small in the inflation basket, which is the consumer price index, then it won't really reflect that much on the wider basket. So that's why you see 17%. Because for a lot of people, prices have gone up more than that. You've seen things double, you've seen things triple, things that you buy every day. It's not the same. In fact, there's even
like
yes, and then to make it worse, there's shrinkflation, which means even though the price is up, the packaging is smaller. So you don't see a lot of air inside what you're buying.
Have you seen that milk, the one in the Tetra pack?
Leave milk.
Have you seen the size
Chicken.
recently?
When was the last time you bought chicken? Dude, and these guys are becoming quite creative with
Yes,
Yes.
the nylon will be so big, but the chicken will be very small. Yeah, and then
You know they
so,
have packing in stock already.
Yeah.
They're not changing, so they just put smaller things in the bigger
No,
packings.
it's not fair. But
yeah,
I mean,
so
fair enough,
that's it.
it's
But
a reality.
it's a good thing that it's trending down on the macro level because inflation numbers going down sort of help with interest rate and a lot of other things on the macro level. But for you and I, it doesn't mean that prices of goods and services are dropping. They are still increasing. And it's all because of all the issues we talk about, from exchange rate to logistics issues to insecurity. Everything is just causing price of goods and services to continue to rise. And like I've said all the time, if you've got things that you need to do and you have the money now, do it immediately. Front load your cost. I've been saying that for a while. Always front load your cost. Don't wait till later because things would likely get worse before it gets better.
You know what I'm checking now, eh?
Exchange rate.
Exactly.
You know here that it's illegal, Abi.
Oh,
Be
sorry.
checking exchange
Ah,
rate.
okay.
Parliament
Let me close it
exchange
now. Before my accountant calls me to say, no, have you heard? Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Ugodre. He's at Ugodre on social media. Please continue the conversation with him on those platforms. Lakunle is at Lakunle70 as well. I'll take the messages I couldn't read during Freshly Pressed into Lagos Talks 91. We'll discuss in 7 minutes, and then I'll be opening up the line 0144899181. Stay with us here on Smooth Breakfast.
Union Bank, your simpler,
Well, they said